Hi, it's Joanne. Today we're watching Stargirl, Season 3, Episode 11, Chapter 11, The Haunting. I'm so sorry this reaction is so late. I did not feel very well. I took about a week and a half, 2 weeks off reacting to just recover, and now I'm back. Stargirl did me a slight favour, for me at least, by not being on over Thanksgiving week, or I think that was the reason, I don't know. But regardless, it helped me out a little bit, and I didn't have to wait as long for, I mean, I'm not going to have to wait at all, 2 weeks or anything. I mean, I had to for this episode, but not for the next episode. I don't know. I'm just stressed because Icicle is back. He's murdering. Everything is a go. I am stressed. I love this show. A reminder that you can find the unedited version of this reaction on my Patreon. I'm using a new camera, so let me know. I'm still not 100% on the sound. So as I always say, let me know if you think there is a big obvious error with the sound. It's too loud, too quiet. It's just terrible quality and I need to sort it out. Let me know and let's go. We've not been that united since, I don't think. God, I doubt this was a particularly pleasant experience. Did it make him even more messed up than he was before? I was worried about that ever since season 1. They need to listen to me. They're never coming back. Poor Artemis. Her parents were severely messed up, but poor Artemis. Hello, monster. I didn't miss you. Well, you don't look too good. I suppose being shattered into loads of pieces and then melting and then coming back together isn't the best way to be.
Our town needs us again. Now,
you are very inspirational, my love.
The past behind us has been challenging. I think we can get Cindy back on board.
Why are we bothering with Cindy again?
Because we need everybody, Yolanda.
On the hunt for the ultra-human.
All superheroes use it during stressful situations to diffuse tension.
I know, it just seems like you feel like
Can Sylvester go away already?
Sorry, Barb.
Sorry, Barb.
Go away.
Hey,
I know I just was like to Yolanda, we need everybody, okay? I know you have reason to dislike Cindy, but we need her on board, but I'm also here, like, Sylvester can leave, that's fine with me.
Aside.
Have you seen my parents?
No, sweetheart. It's not your fault. They were kind of dumb to go down into the thing, but at least they were trying to do the right thing, and... He's just gonna casually walk home? Hey, guys. Would you assume it was him, or would you assume it was some sort of shapeshifter impersonation mocking you? Your evil son is alive, yes. Oh, God.
Dad?
He's learnt his dad isn't necessarily who he thought he was, but it's still his dad. It's messy enough having parents who are averagely terrible people. Let alone that terrible, because your heart is telling you that it's your parent and you love them, and then it's telling you the opposite.
I was trying to protect
You
you.
should have stayed away to protect him.
Bring you into that history would have put you in danger. Because once you knew...
But you're here doing it anyway. So the trouble with this is that his dad genuinely does love Cameron. It isn't a case of Dragon King or a lot of the other evil parents. Like... And that makes it so much harder to do a clean break if you want to try and hate your dad for being a bad person.
Don't know how hard it is. It wasn't Courtney who did it.
Mm-hmm.
It was her brother.
Fuck.
Mike?
But that's all in the past now. And I've forgiven him.
You literally just murdered the Crocs.
I've forgiven all of them because they believed what they were doing was right.
You've not forgiven anyone, or has he forgiven them, but he hasn't forgiven the Crocs because they were supposed to be on his side and they switched sides, so they stopped believing in what they believed in was right, if that makes sense. Is he like severely messed up more so than he used to be?
He says you've killed people, Dad.
My goal was only ever to help people.
By killing other people.
You know me.
You avoided the question. You didn't answer his question. If you've killed people, you've killed people.
Past actions in a different light.
I don't trust this.
Courtney's group and I, we want the same thing. We could just never agree on how we should achieve.
Yes, because you were cool with murder.
But I think maybe now we can.
So Cameron has gone through so much recently.
I want peace.
He's saying what they want to hear. And reading the room, if he tells Cameron, actually I'd like to go murder everybody, he's going to lose his son. So he can't say that to him. I know there's not really evidence of the murder other than just the mask, but I hope Artemis isn't here. Oh, of course she is.
Where's Rick?
Being a little brat.
We can't wait for him.
I mean, I'm worried about the little brat, don't get me wrong. I didn't want him to get help severely, but he's also being a little brat.
I think the McKenns did anything to the Crocs.
One of them
Maybe
did.
that animal did.
What is that?
Her parents.
Oh my god. What?
Artemis, I'm sorry.
Courtney.
Sweetheart, you didn't deserve this. You didn't deserve this. None of these kids did.
Artemis.
Just a little kid. This is horrible. They were so proud of you. I had my issues with the Crocs, namely that they've murdered God knows how many football coaches and innocent people. But Artemis isn't innocent, and she didn't deserve that. I mean, they deserve prison, not death.
He's back. He's back.
Oh lord. Everyone in this town just thought he was an upstanding dude who went missing. It would actually be really interesting if he truly has changed from being a puddle and it's someone else behind it all, but there's not much time left. I mean, we know he hasn't fully changed because he literally committed murder last night, but you know.
I can put the past behind me. Start over. Rebuild.
It's like,
Trust me, Barbara.
we are giving all the villains second
I'm a
chances,
changed
but
man.
you literally murdered last night.
Who you are, Jordan.
I didn't set out to. They came in and it happened so fast.
He is being a manipulator
It was
again
terrible.
because you literally led them in. Don't believe him. I mean, tell him, yes, I believe you to get out of this room, but we're not believing this man.
It's good to see you, Barbara.
You're still a creep.
I thought Icicle was dead.
We all did. I mean,
Showed up at the main.
regroup, Sylvester. Don't go off alone. Courtney's my darling love. You should have just said, we need you home urgently. There's an emergency. And then told him in person. Then maybe he'd have destroyed your house, but maybe you guys could have talked the man down. This man is not stable. He needs to be in intensive therapy. Preferably, like, in a place that has a locked door and no access to the staff until he's better in his own mind.
Creep killed me!
I know.
I get why you're this angry.
Jordan McKenna, we gotta draw the line somewhere, and the Icicle is it.
But we have to act together.
And running in hot-headed is not going to be the answer.
Surprise, not dead.
Neither are you!
You gotta check your work, Pat.
I mean, I hate to agree with him, but
I'm just saying we
I
have
was
to have a
like,
plan.
he could
There's a way to
reform
take
the
care of
dudes.
Jordan McKenna. I'm taking out Icicle myself, whether anyone approves of it or
I mean,
not.
the last time you tried to do that, he did kill you, so maybe you could do with some help. I'm so annoyed because I kind of agree with some of what Sylvester's saying here, but ultimately...
Feels horrible about it, but it was self-defense.
Oh, Cameron, I get this though, I do. I mean, like, my lived experience with a shit parent is a parent who is nowhere near the level of Icicle, but I know how hard it is to go from thinking your parent is everything and having such a great relationship with them to realizing that they are not just a flawed person but a deeply awful person. And when that parent is a good manipulator and trying to bring everything around you, I can so understand why Cameron is going to be struggling with this, and it breaks my heart for this
Okay, he
boy.
thought they were attacking him. Where was the accountability for the Crocs? Or Cindy? How can you say they deserve a second chance, but my
I mean,
dad
Cindy's
doesn't?
different, the Crocs less so.
Between us.
I think you're going to have to choose between your dad and
different
them.
now. We can work together like you always wanted.
He told you what you wanted to hear. He has some sort of plan, my love.
Please.
I wish you could. And she wishes they could too. There will come a time when Icicle... I do just think these two have such a deep connection that goes beyond who their families are and everything, that they kind of really see each other and bring out the best in each other in so many ways. But it's so messy right now. And you know, if Icicle was telling the truth, if he was jumped by the Crocs, if it was a self-defense move, then you could almost think, well, you gave the Croc second chances. Of course you have to give him a second chance, regardless of what he's done, because we do that apparently. But we know that's not true, which leads me to think at some point it's going to become apparent to Cameron that it's not true. At some point, Icicle is going to do something that even, like, and Cameron will see it and he won't be able to manipulate it away, because, like I said, I'm not blaming Cameron right now, and if anyone is, I don't think, you've got to think about it. The actor maybe, like, late 20s. Cameron is 17, 18, he's a child. And like, his dad is back from the dead, he's lost his mum, his dad is saying everything he wants to hear, and it sounds so believable when that parent you look up to and love is telling you things, and he's got that sincere look on his face. You believe him, and it breaks my heart.
Just a normal human being without powers of any kind. Amen.
I'm sorry, Jakeem. I can't do that.
There are limits now.
If I took his powers away...
You don't take his powers away, you're killing way more people. Probably including me.
I'm sorry.
It's not how we do
what
things.
you're asking.
Can you take away his powers other than the amount of power he needs to stay alive? So that he has enough power to keep himself whole, but if he then exerts his power and goes to kill anybody else, he loses the ability to stay alive, and then he's killed himself.
By the way, the doors were unlocked. I could have been Jordan McKent. Where would you be then? Let's team up.
I really do think we could be a great team, you and I.
He's definitely lying about why and how he killed the McKents, but how funny would it be if he truly wasn't working with the Ultra Human Knight, and he had been spying on us, but he wasn't the one that killed the Gambler, and there's all disconnected things, and then, like, he's being truthful here? Because I still, like, if that is the case, I still think it would be because the Crocs were on his team, and then they changed sides. So, like, they abandoned their beliefs. Did they ever have beliefs? And that's important to him. But I also think he's saying what everyone wants to hear because he's got a plan up his sleeve. His icy sleeve.
I'll be honest. That was regrettable, but...
You murdered the Zarek family.
Yep.
You tried to brainwash half the country into the
Yes.
fear that it would kill millions.
Yep.
You murdered the JSA. No one can just ignore that.
I'm not asking you to forget. Give.
The level
We can
of
work
violence
together.
you were willing to do.
All of us. And then you and Cameron can start again.
Okay, that's between the children. You stay out of it. I still can get the sound of Artemis's screams out of my head. That actress did a fantastic job. She's not really had much to do in this show, and when she was given something, oh, here she is, she pulled it out of the bag. Have they left her alone in her home? Just last night, she had this, that she was going to the college she wanted to go to. Someone with this baby. She needs a hug. And a lifeline.
You can't be alone here.
She needs a hug. This actress, like, seriously, hasn't had to do much in this show other than just sort of jump around being crazy, and now she's just devastating me. I hope Rick's okay. I've been just cross with him because it's easier than worrying. Someone else has lost their parents. It makes you miss yours. These babies! I don't know how her parents are not driving around looking for her every second of every day.
I'm just saying, he is just playing us like he always has.
I am on Sylvester's side here, I do believe that, but I also think we have to at least take a moment, discuss it as a group, and then come to our conclusion. You know, it shouldn't just be Sylvester wants us to kill him, Courtney doesn't. You know, I think as a communal group that we have, we need to weigh everything up. I mean, he literally murdered her parent, like, Ultimate's parents last night. He didn't need to use deadly force. He needs to explain why, even if he was being attacked. If he's so changed now, why did he use deadly force? Because if deadly force is the only option, the JSA would have killed people left, right and centre, and they haven't.
After all the support I've given you.
How much really have you given? Oh lord, what's Icicle up to? I know we can't trust the bitch. But if you seriously care about your kid this much, you would be spending every possible second with him, having not been with him for the past year. I'm guessing he's working with him if he's come out here to face him. So it would be kind of amusing if he was just so cocky he thought he could beat him and then he gets murdered.
It's time.
Okay, so MVP of that episode for me 100% was Artemis, and I do not know the name of the actress. I actually don't know the name of many of the actors in this show, and I need to fix that. She just did such a good job of portraying that grief, the level of pain in her screams, and you know, Artemis has never been a character I've particularly warmed to. I've also never particularly hated her. She's just kind of existed, just bopping around, you know, and I've been waiting for her to kind of get more. And, you know, they really gave her more, and it was in the worst way possible. You know, from the moment she started crying, and for all the bluster and bravado that Artemis puts on as a character, she just sounded like a little kid who lost her mum and dad, and that's exactly who she was. Thankful bloody Barbara was finally there for her. Like, why was this girl ever left alone? But there's a lot going on. So that was devastating. Also, Yolanda on the phone to her mum. Yolanda's situation is extremely messy, but it is not salvageable. You know, that there is a chance for her to get in contact with her parents again, to tell them the truth, for her parents to say, well, you know, we trust you. And while I still don't think it's unreasonable for her parents to be cross with her and like ground her over sneaking out of the house at night when she's a teenager, I also do think everything else they've done, including kicking her out, is unreasonable. But it's a hard situation to be in. If she tells her parents that she's Wildcat, they don't seem the sort of people who are going to get on board with it. I mean, I'm surprised Beth's parents did. And I think a significant part of that might be because Beth doesn't always do the fighting part of things. I think if I was a parent of a teenager, even if I loved and trusted that teenager, which I hope when I have kids I do love and trust them and they don't give me reason not to, I don't even know where that sentence is going, but you know, I would struggle with the idea of my child, who is still a child, going out and superheroing. But I would like, I mean, there's only 2 episodes left, right? I would like to think Yolanda's going to be able to patch things up with her parents by the end of this show, but I also don't know if there's time for that. But I think we saw in this episode that of course she still loves her mum, and that for all of her faults, and her parents have a lot of faults, her mum does still love her. Now, if my child who I'd kicked out of the house phoned me up and said, Mum, I'll only lie to you but to protect you, I love you, and then hung up, I would be like, my God, something terrible has happened to them. They've got involved in something, like whether they made a mistake or whether they were coerced. They're involved in some terrible thing. I need to get, like, I'm going to call the police. They're missing. You know, I would be like DEFCON 1, like trying to save them. But instead, I don't know. So my heart breaks for her as well, but I think there's a chance for her to maybe patch things up with her parents. And maybe this will finally make her parents realise what shit parents they have been in the long run. I am worried about Rick. I know I call him a brat, and I know I'm very irritated with him right now, but I do also recognise that this isn't Rick. This is the hourglass and the fact that he doesn't take it off, and it is altering his brain and his perceptions. So it's not really his fault that he is being this irritating. I am kind of, the longer we don't see him, the more I kept, like, the longer this episode went on, I kept expecting we'd find him in the Ultra Humanite had him, or Icicle had him, or, you know, I guess he's just off somewhere punching trees or something. Maybe he's finally figured out how to wake up Solomon Grundy. I don't know. But, you know, I'm guessing, because we didn't see him, he's just out there somewhere. The next episode may change that. But I'm worried about that boy. And there is so much else going on that there almost isn't time for everybody. Like, if this was happening on an earlier Tuesday, middle of the weekday, where there wasn't a big bad coming to town, you know, the big bad was still just off in the horizon, I think Barbara and Pat and everyone could put Rick as the priority, whereas right now there are 1,000 priorities, and I do believe Rick should be one of them, but there are ones that are taking all the attention away. I'm kind of frustrated with the fact that I agreed with Sylvester in this episode. I mean, I agree with him in the sense that we cannot trust Jordan. I personally never fully understood how we were so trusting of the Crocs. I think I understood why we were trusting of them in the sense that they ultimately did prove to be trustworthy. But the level of crime they'd committed, it wasn't even just killing other bad guys or killing people for the ISA. They would just murder football coaches who didn't support their ambitions for their daughter, or who were a bit hard on her. You know, they murdered so many innocent people, and yet they just became comic relief friends. It was weird. They didn't deserve to die, they deserved to actually do their prison sentence. And Artemis didn't deserve anything because she's a child. Even Cindy, who has committed acts with the ISA to a degree, doesn't deserve anything. I could kind of understand the parallels between Jordan and the Crocs, because Jordan has killed loads of people, but the Crocs were a part of his plan to brainwash millions of people. Yes, it was his plan, which puts him as more culpable than them, but it is a big ask to expect everyone to forgive him. But you can understand from Cameron's perspective why, looking at the situation, his dad seems sincere, and I do think Cameron has yet to fully comprehend just how evil his father was, and his dad coming back from the dead, one of his parents miraculously being alive and saying, oh, thanks to you, I see things differently now, I realise I have made mistakes, not going into just what those mistakes were, but I am better now. Of course Cameron's going to want to believe that. I do not blame this boy in the slightest. I still believe he truly has a good heart, and I think if, when he'd arrived home, Cameron had been a very different individual, and Cameron had been hardened by thoughts of revenge, and oh, Dad, you're alive, let's go get those bastards, or I'm so angry now, if he'd kind of taken after the grandmother, for instance, and wasn't the sweet boy we know, I think Jordan would have come home and been like, ha, yeah, come join me on my plan. But when he came home, and he was like, right, yes, and my son is not going to like me if I'm openly trying to murder people, so I'm going to have to be sneaky about this. I kind of hope we see Cameron confront, for Cameron's sake, I'd almost like him to know nothing about anything and then just go away somewhere and get to live a life where he thinks his father was at least a little bit decent. But I hope we kind of reach the point where Cameron has to choose between his father and the good guys, and he chooses the good guys. We will see what happens, of course. It was kind of hard to watch their family reunion, because at the end of the day, this is a family that does love each other, and so you are a little bit emotional about it, but then you're like, this man is a mass murderer who was willing to murder millions. Stay away from the child. Like, let's get some Child Protective Services involved, please. But back to Sylvester. I agreed with him with his thing of we cannot trust him under any circumstances. I think it was definitely coming from an extremely personal pain point, and it's kind of this time around, I'm like, I get why that is such a big thing you haven't dealt with. He literally is the one that killed you. But I also think it's not right for Courtney to say, I have decided we are trusting him, and it isn't right for Sylvester to say, I have decided we are murdering him. I think they all deserve to have a say in this discussion and to weigh up his actions versus his words. If he hadn't just killed the Crocs, or, I think they'd almost have to give him a little bit of time. Keep an eye on him by all means, but I almost feel like they'd have to give him the benefit of the doubt briefly, because that is kind of the way we go about things. We give people a second chance, and he didn't actually murder millions of people. He was just planning to murder millions of people. It's different. But given that he literally murdered the night before, and yes, he's spinning it as self-defense, we saw it. It wasn't. And we see as a plan with the Ultra Humanite, but I think Sylvester's not wrong in that they have to treat him as a threat, but I also think rushing in right now, like if at the end of this episode they'd all been like, yeah, Sylvester, let's go kill him, we'll go storm the McKenna house again, take 2, this time we'll kill Icicle, it just would have made things worse. I think we can't rush into this. We need to stay on alert at all times. We need to make sure we know where every single person we care about is at all times, and keep an eye on him as much as we can. But get information, figure out what his plan is and what he's doing, because otherwise we're just going to walk straight into whatever trap he wants us to, and that's what we're going to do, and I'm stressed. And the fact that Jordan was just like, people in his office were like, oh, this guy's been dead for a year, he's back, it's fine. You do hear of stories like that, people who get amnesia and, they're assumed dead or whatever. I imagine by the time he chose to walk back and knock on the door, he had his story down for what he was going to tell the town about how he was still alive. I kind of want to know what his fake story was, though, because you'd be kind of like, a rich guy goes missing for a long time and becomes a shady dude. So this episode was devastating in a lot of ways. I think something this show has done a really good job of is keeping these kids while also having them be superheroes. And it's one of the reasons why I struggle with them being like such superheroes, is because they're just babies. But their reactions to things, whether it was Artemis, Yolanda, Cameron, these are just kids who are going through such a hard time, and they are either, just drowning in the pain or trying to find a way out of it and trying to believe the best out of it all. I am so intrigued about where it's going to go next. There are only 2 episodes, and I'm devastated that this show's finishing, but I'm pretty sure I might have even seen I saw a headline and I scrolled past it, but my eyes read quickly, and so I read the words, Stargirl films 2 finales, and I was like, no, I'm not reading that because I don't want spoilers. So I think they maybe filmed like a finale that would have had like a cliffhanger and a finale that wraps everything up. So I'm hoping we are going to get a satisfactory finale next week. I'm going to watch episode 12 now, but it's a week until 13. I love the show. So yes, a reminder that you can find the unedited version of this reaction on my Patreon, and thank you so much for watching.